Professor Matthew James has a problem. As a professor of linguistics and grammar, he has been called as an expert witness many times for language forensics in high-profile court cases. It's hard to explain to a jury how a defendant's grammatical mistakes in a threatening email or a pattern of using the wrong emoji constitute evidence in a murder case involving whipped cream and a bowling ball, but my track record speaks for itself. James, who currently resides in Miami, Florida, has found a new and surprising use for his linguistic skills. I watched some congressional hearings with tech giants and was horrified that no one understood the difference between a utopia or a dystopia. They were using the words interchangeably and getting a reaction from their own party, but that is the kind of linguistic mistake that gets people killed. We asked Professor James to clarify the difference between the two words which are featured heavily in science fiction. So a utopia is an imagined perfect society with a good system of laws, a good system of government and a good system of social conditions. A dystopia is an imagined society where something has gone wrong. It usually features an oppressive government with total control or a post-apocalyptic setting. Maybe a broken society after a nuclear war. Dystopia actually means not good place. Utopia and dystopia are opposites. Camelot under King Arthur would be a utopia. George Orwell's 1984 under Big Brother surveillance would be a dystopia, but Professor James is worried by his early grammar lobbying efforts. They just don't get it, laments Professor James. The tech giants and Congress think these words will help them describe where we are as a society and where we are going, but if I said we were in the land of Oz now on our way to Gattaca, people would think I was crazy. That's because those places aren't real. None of this is real. But when the ideas are wrapped up in an impressive word like utopian or dystopian, people go along with it. They are substituting fantasy for facts, and the most dangerous part about that is once you are rooted in fantasy, no checks and balances from the real world hold sway. I apologize for venting, but when history is hypothetical and the future is fiction, policies will perish. Congressman Glavenhooper, a Republican from New York, took a stab at explaining his own use of utopia. If you have a great society, you want to share it and make sure everyone gets the same fair opportunities. That's why we use the military to spread democracy around the world. Professor James replied that forcing people into a society they don't want, even if you believe that society is perfect, would be more dystopian than utopian. Confused, Congressman Glavenhooper asked, so which world do we live in? Is America a utopia or a dystopia? Neither, replied an obviously frustrated Professor James. We live in the real world that has to deal with real people, real problems, and real policies. Utopias and dystopias are not real. That's why these words are so dangerous. Why can't you just tell us your policy positions and opinions on real problems? Congressman Glavenhooper replied, I thought you wanted to talk about the real world. After his failed attempts at lobbying for Congress to use words with clear definitions, Professor James has set up a database to help accurately describe a politician's political stance. James says, it's standard fare in Washington, D.C. to peg your opponents as fascists or totalitarians, but my new database will tell you where your political opponents actually sit by their policies. You can finally call someone out for siding with an 1875 Whig Party line or taking a 1912 Bull Moose stand. We should all be excited about the ability to see a politician's allegiance to 3rd century Rome's plutocratic ideals. In an effort to better understand James' work, I entered my own policies into the database. I am 56% Edo-Japan and 20% 13th century Magna Carta. James's Politics of the World database will be available to the public soon, so you can finally call your in-laws out for their inconsistencies.
This has been a DeNewSour update. Like and subscribe to support the revolution.